Hello and welcome to Wednesdays with WV. This is episode number 15. My guest on this episode is one who played a very good hand despite the indifferent cards that cricket dealt him. And of course, after finishing his playing days, he took up to coaching. He has the unique distinction of being the first Indian to be part of a coaching setup of a major cricketing nation. He was one of the coaches for the Australian team. He had a good stint for about 6 years. And once he finished with that assignment, he took charge of the Bangladesh team in the recently concluded World Cup in Australia. Of course, I'm talking about none other than Sridhar and Sriram, who was also a very good left-arm spinner during this, and then went on to become a high-scoring batter for Tamil Nadu. But of late, he's known more for his association with the international sides as a coach. It's my pleasure to present to you Sriram Sridharan, who of course is no stranger to all of you. Welcome, Sri, and how are you doing?
Excellent. I'll call you sir because you've seen me from the age of 13, and that's how I called you in the beginning. So I just want to keep it like that. So thank you for having me.
You know me, I'm easy. You can call me WE or whatever you want.
No, but I think I'll stick to sir because we go back a long way.
Good
And
boy, good boy. How was it handling Bangladesh in the World Cup and that too in your familiar territory? The World Cup was in Australia.
yeah, I think it was a good challenge. It came all of a sudden, so I was like um, thrown into the deep sea, if I can say. So, but I enjoyed it. Really, it was a lovely challenge, and I think it was a sort of natural progression for me to take up a head coaching role for a national team. That to an evolving team. So it was a very good challenge that I really enjoyed.
Australia and Bangladesh, two sides of the spectrum, like chalk and cheese. Must have been difficult for you to adjust.
Yes and no, but Australia are definitely very professional. But Bangladesh, I think, I knowing their culture. I mean, being from the subcontinent, I sort of related both to the boys as well as to the board. So I think that was a big sort of upside to my going there. I really adapted well to their culture, and same with the boys. They spoke Hindi. I was able to communicate. The language barrier was not there. They see a lot of Hindi movies, Bollywood movies, all the boys, so their Hindi is pretty fluent. Even though sometimes go on in Bengali, which I can't understand, but I think majority of the times I got them.
There's a limit to how many languages we can learn, Sri.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Of course, as far as Bangladesh is concerned, they won a couple of games in the World Cup. That must be very encouraging, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had a young side. It was a deliberate ploy to go in with a young side. We wanted to build really to the future, build towards the next World Cup. That was really our sort of motive, even when we picked the team. And Bangladesh had never won a game in the Super 12s of the T20 World Cup since 2007. So winning two games, I think, was a huge positive. And we had a chance. We had a chance. We came very close to India, and if he had won the Pakistan game, we would have made it to the semifinals, which would have been history. But again, just going with the positives, winning two games in the Super 12s, I think should give the side a lot of confidence.
Sri, you were quite animated in the game against India. What was it all about? No, I have to hear that story.
I mean, there's no story behind it. Actually, we were going hammer and tongs. We were, I think, 7 over 66 for no loss. When the rain came, we were way ahead of the Duckworth Lewis where we needed to be. And the boys were talking about winning the game. So I was like, mentally be prepared to play the whole game because, if the rain stops, you got to be ready to play the game and not count on Duckworth Lewis to win the game. That was my message to them when the rain came. So I was talking to them, everybody individually, saying that be prepared to play a full game, be prepared to chase down 180. So be mentally ready. And when the game started, we needed 85 in the 9 overs that were left. And I thought the ball was getting wet, it was coming onto the bat. They couldn't bowl spin with the wet ball. So all they had to bowl was medium pace. And we had to use the pace and make use of the square boundaries. And that was what the message was. And there was a bit of panic and 15-20 minutes of real sort of I can't get the right word for it, but we committed a bit of hirakiri in the 15 minutes, and I was just not being animated, but I was just telling them that what did we speak about? We just had to stick to what we speak about, and that's the part of the learning. If the young boys, when they face a situation like that, when we've never played shortened games, so I think that was a big experience for them, a big learning to take away.
From the
So
immediate past, let's go back a lot further back. We'll go back
okay,
to your younger days. You were a
yes.
superstar in the under 19 days, but the transition to the senior level was a bit tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I lost my way a little bit with my bowling. Then I had to, remodel myself as a batsman, and had to. I was not a naturally gifted batsman by any means. I was more sort of a gifted bowler, but I had to work to, develop my batting skills, which meant I had to survive in the game. And I think at that time, MRF was pretty helpful for me in sort of accommodating me more as a batsman, giving me the opportunities to go higher up the order, make me stake my claims as a batsman. So I mean, those few years were a bit challenging, but I think I got through it pretty well. I'm happy with how I ended up.
With all the knowledge that you have at your disposal now, do you think playing too long at the under 19 level harmed you?
Uh, Good question. I've never thought about it that way. Actually, I made my first class debut at the age of 15. But then I didn't play for the next 3 or 4 years. Probably that stalled my growing up a bit. So, I mean, Tamil Nadu had some very good spinners at that time. I didn't get the opportunity to play continuous back to back games of first class cricket. And then I had to go back to under 19. So, that it was not that something I wanted to do, but something I had to do because I wasn't getting the opportunities at first class level.
Yeah, that mindset is prevailing even today because associations generally tend to make a player play at a lesser level because they're
Mhm,
looking at winning the trophy at that level. By that I mean, if
mhm,
somebody is good to play for the state side
mhm,
and if he's 17 years old, they make him
mhm.
go and play the under 19 level. I think that stunts the growth a little bit.
Yeah, I think once you played India under 19, the quicker you transition playing first class cricket and IPL now with the opportunities being more. If somebody can play the IPL or play consistent first class cricket, I think is always better. Uh, I think playing India under 19 is very important. But as soon as you play India under 19, the quicker the transition happens, I think the better for the cricketer. And that's where the state and all the selectors have to have that vision for the player and, be well planned in terms of where they see him for the next few years and what is his sort of development plan.
How frustrating was it? You were trying harder and harder, but still the bowling skills never came back to you. Must have been frustrating.
Yeah, yeah. The harder I tried, the worse I got actually. So it was a tough phase because I was doing everything I possibly could to get back my action, to get back my old rhythm. But it's funny, I don't have an answer for it even today. How I sort of uh, how it sort of deserted me at that time. But I think it was a great learning for me to fail as a spinner. But today in my I take a lot of lessons when I coach about more about failure and about what not to do than about if somebody's had tremendous success. Sometimes the learning is not as much as when you fail.
But you adapted quickly, really well, because you churned out runs by the tons and then went on to play for the country as the top order bat. That's not easy by
Yeah,
any means.
yeah. I As I said, I wasn't a very naturally gifted player. All I could do was value my wicket as dear to me as possible and just stay in the wicket and churn out those runs. And I think. That's a quality I imbibed because I lost my bowling and I had to survive in the game. So that's a good quality to have. To be having that kind of steely resolve to fight for each and every run, value your wicket. I mean, to go through the grind in first class cricket, seeing the ups and downs at that age of between 19 and 23, 24. So I think it was a very challenging period. But looking back, I think I learned a lot.
I know what it would have been, but for the benefit of people watching this, you were
uh,
crippled in a way because you lost bowling And
Mhm,
then overnight it becomes a one ball game, because as a
mhm,
batter, if you
mhm,
make one mistake, the game is
mhm,
gone. How
mhm.
tough was it? It was like a catching up game all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, but somewhere deep down, I always believed that I could come back as a bowler, and that's what kept me going as well. And even when I had bad days with the bat, I think I always chipped in with the ball. Even bowling a few overs here and there, a wicket here and there, just kept me going in the team, and kept me going, contributing to the team. So that again, I think helped a bit because of that belief that I would be able to come back with the ball. So that sort of helped me.
What was the Indian dressing room like when you made your appearance for the country?
I think, yeah, the Indian dressing room was as normal as it was. I mean, I think you have to be very mentally tough to sort of go there and establish yourself. You've got to find your own way. It's not that there are too many people helping you out, and you've got to sort of be switched on the moment you go in. And I think you've got to be lucky to have a good start in international cricket. Once you have a good start, that belief comes in you that you can be you're part of that level, and you're not chasing the game. But whereas if you don't have a very good start to your career, I think you're chasing the game a bit, and that's when again the challenge is even more.
John Wright was the coach then. He brought in a new perspective, isn't it, in terms of how people saw the game by itself and how people communicated. A lot of things we were new then.
Yeah, at that time, I think he was probably one of the first foreign coaches that India have ever had. So he definitely brought in a new perspective. Even simple things like turning up to training on time, finishing in that 2.5, 3 hours stipulated time, just not going beyond that. Uh, Giving the bowlers a bat, helping each other out. I mean, I think he brought in a lot of new things, which at that time was foreign to us.
Now let's have an honest answer. You must have thought about it many a time. If only I had more opportunities.
Uh, I mean, definitely yes. I would be lying if I said no. But again, what I went through has made me what I am today. So I'm very happy what happened, because today, whatever I am, I owe it to where I go back at those times, the times I had struggled, the times I had to fight, the times I had to get up each time after falling down. I think has made me the person today. And that's helped me tremendously in my coaching. And the fact that I don't carry any baggage in my head also helps me with my coaching, because I sincerely believe that my playing days, I've left nothing behind, and I've done all that I could, and I can, if I put my head on the pillow, I sleep really well. So I've left no stone unturned from my side. So that makes me even more committed as a coach to the person I'm coaching, rather than think about myself.
What made you take up coaching after you quit cricket?
uh, I think it was accident. I was playing in England at that point of time. I had left Tamil Nadu. I was playing for Maharashtra, if I remember right. I was working for DY Patil, playing time shield cricket in Mumbai. So that's something I wanted to experience. Get out of Chennai, see different parts of the country, play as a professional, and then there was a time when I had to get a visa to go to England, and because I wasn't playing first class cricket when I joined the ICL. They had to have a coaching qualification for me to go to get a work permit to go to England. That's what made my club push me to do the level two. And once I did the level two, I was sort of doing grassroots level coaching in England, which I was enjoying, working with the kids in the afternoon, going to every school, popularizing the game. And then I said, not a bad idea to do a level three. And that's when I did my level three in England. And my club helped me, obviously, for that. I spent a winter in England in December, January, in the freezing cold in Derbyshire, and where was it? I think it was Derbyshire, and where their academy is. I can't get the right name for it. But again, I did my level
Loughborough.
three. Sorry?
Was it Loughborough?
Yeah, Loughborough, right. That was Derbyshire and Loughborough. And then that's when the coaching journey started. And then I had an opportunity to work in New Zealand, in Auckland, for a club and a college because I was not allowed to play any cricket in India during the ICL time. So again, going and working in New Zealand again opened up a different avenue for me coaching wise. And that's where I sort of started to realize the coach in me.
Since then, you worked with a lot of high profile coaches, Gary Kirsten, one among them. What impressed you most about Gary Kirsten?
Gary was a very good communicator. I mean, he was very good in addressing a group. His one-on-one chats were very good. He sort of handled the big egos very well at that time in the Indian team. So I think his strength was definitely communication.
And your big break came around 2016 when you became a part of the Aussie side. Did you pinch yourself?
I mean, that's another very interesting story. Actually, I was working for Delhi Daredevils, and Marcus Stoinis and Travis Head were in that squad at that time. So they weren't playing any. They weren't playing the IPL. They were just made to carry the drinks, and so they went up to Gary and said, "We're not playing games, so if you don't mind, we can go back home and work on our skills." So Gary said, "Why don't you work in India? It's a great opportunity to come to India, and you don't get this often. So take the help of Sri, take him for training." And we used to do extra sessions, Stoinis, Head, and myself. We just used to stay back after training. And then what happened? One day we were going back, and the auto rickshaw that we took broke down. So we were walking on the streets of Delhi, and then we sat for a coffee. And Stoinis was like, "Shri, I think I've improved my game against spin, and I'm feeling good about all this." And I just very casually said, "You know what, Stoin, I should do this for Australia." And he said, "Wow, great idea." So he wrote an email to Greg Chappell saying that, I've been working with Sri, he's helped me a lot, and this is something we can explore. And Greg Chappell was the coach of India at the fag end of my career. So he knew who I was. And Troy Cooley was at the academy at that time. Troy had a great connection with MRF and Dennis Lilly. So Troy obviously knew who I was. So I got a meeting with Troy in Chennai in the MRF Pace Foundation, and Troy said, "Come and do a few sessions for us." And then the A team, the Australia A team came to India, and I did a few sessions with them. They had Usman Khwaja, Joe Burns, Callum Ferguson, Peter Hanscom, Stephen O'Keefe, Ashton Agar, Adam Zampa. So they had all these guys at that time in 2015. And lo and behold, Australia A won that test match against India A, which had Virat Kohli, Cheteshwar Pujara, Pragyan Oja, Amit Mishra, and all these guys. So that sort of uh, took everybody, it took the notice of everybody. And that's when the big break came. I got an email from Darren Lehman saying that, "Would you be interested in working with the main team?" So that's how the break happened. It was, again, I was very lucky.
Talking of Darren Lehman, he's got a character, isn't he? But he's highly
Ah,
respected.
yeah, Buff's definitely a character. He's a very chilled kind of guy. He has a very sort of casual way about the way he deals with players. Uh, he's very street smart. He's good. So he's got very different style of coaching to say a Gary Kirsten. But yeah, Buff was a very good character. He always saw the sort of lighter side of things, and even under pressure, he could sort of lighten the whole environment by cracking a joke or pulling somebody's leg. So he had that knack about him, which took the pressure off the players. So that was probably his strength.
And after him comes a character like Langa, who was very intense. But would you say that he had a volatile temperament?
No, I mean, for me, Langa is one of the best coaches I ever worked with. He was so passionate, and that at that point of time when he took over Australian cricket in 2018, when they had this sandpaper gate controversy, the Australian public had sort of gone away from the Australian cricket team. So he had a big job to sort of reinstate that faith in the Australian cricket team again. So I think no better person than Justin Langer. He's a true and out Aussie, passionate, very, very sort of patriotic. For him, the country came first. The baggy green, he was so proud about the possession of the baggy green. So again, I think playing the values and the culture he brought into the team, the mateship, the sort of humility, these values that he brought into the Australian team, I think I sort of really respect what he did. And at that point of time, he was the best person for that job.
But after both, Langer's intensity would have looked far too pronounced, isn't it?
Again, at that time, with Steve Smith, David Warner going out, it was sort of a very young group. And I think they needed that sort of person for them who could sort of be the elder brother, show them the right path, and tap them on the shoulder if they weren't doing the right thing. So I think he was a perfect sort of coach at that point of time. Yes, he was asking them challenging questions, but I think at that time it was very essential.
The job of a head coach of Australian cricket team is a coveted job, no doubt. But it also seems to be a very stressful job, isn't it? Buff had a heart issue, then Langer went out in bad taste. What happens towards the end of their tenure?
I think, yeah, any head coaching job, England, India, Australia, it's a high profile job, and it comes with its own challenges, I think. And all three formats take a toll, honestly, sir. I think in modern day cricket, um, coaching 12 months of the year, day in, day out, um, with that stress and pressure that comes with the expectations with the job. And I know, I think transitioning between formats, if you building a very good test side, probably your one day or your T20 side sort of suffers a little bit. Again, you've got to rest the players at the right time. There's never a right time in international cricket. Every series has its own importance, and so I think it comes with a lot of stress, and I think that's what gets to them. There is a shelf life for every coach at that level, and I think it's somewhere between 4 to 5 years. And I think both Buff and Justin Langer did very well to do that 4 or 5 years tenure.
Talking of shelf life of a coach, you got out at the right time, didn't you? You had enough number of years.
Yeah, I had put in 6 7 years and on the road, and with the COVID, I had to stay in Australia for 7 months at a time. I didn't see enough of my family. So it was a decision that I had been pondering for a while. Even after winning that T20 World Cup, it was definitely on my mind. Well, what's the right time to quit? But once Justin Langer went, I had a chat with him, and I also felt at that time that it was the right time to sort of come out. And I think I'd made the correct decision.
During the tug of war that is happening between Langer and the rest, were you seen as Langer's man?
Uh, I think Langer had great trust in me. There was no doubt about it. He really trusted me in a lot of things. And but when it all happened in the Ashes in 2021, I wasn't there for that whole series. I only did a very after the World Cup with COVID, I couldn't travel, so I didn't sort of do that whole Ashes series. So that's when the whole thing happened. So again, probably I wasn't seen as Langer's man at that point of time.
Ricky Ponting tried his best to rope Langer into some coaching gig. And now we are talking about different styles of coaching and coaches. What do you make of Ricky Ponting? You worked with him also.
Yeah, he was a very players coach. He was almost a captain. Like he coached the team like he was a captain. He was there for everybody. He's almost like he was with the players most of the time. He used to go out in the evening with them. He used to sit with them for a meal. He would throw balls. I had no end. He used to talk technique. He loved talking cricket. So I think uh, he he's one of the boys, and that sort of gets them going as well. And a person of Ricky Ponting's stature, and if he's so open and mingling with you, I think that gets the boys going. And that was Ricky's strength. I think even as a captain, that's what they say. He was always there in the nets, throwing balls to the younger guys, helping out the younger boys with their game. He was almost a coach when he was captain, and when he was a coach, he's almost a captain. So he had a good blend, you know.
As one of the guys who are plotting and planning from the other dressing rooms, what, according to you, are the shortcomings of Team India?
That's a great question. What do you mean in the World Cup or
Generally,
just
let's
in?
switch formats. Let's talk about the white ball format rather.
I think white ball format. India is always a top heavy side. They rely a lot on their top four and five, which again you've got to break through early against India. If you get that 2, 3 early wickets, you always felt you're in with a chance. That was one thing we always felt plotting against India. Um, what else in the white ball format? I think India is one of the best sides now in the white ball because of players like the young players like Surya Kumar Yadav, Rishabh Pant. I mean, the power that they possess, they probably did not have that a little while ago. But I think with the power of Hardik, Surya, Rishabh, I think it makes them even more a formidable side.
What do you think is the reason for India faltering in the ICC championships?
Again, I think it's the dependence on the top three, and one in a big game. If your top four don't have the best of days, the that's what happened in 2019 in the World Cup. Even in 2021 in the T20 World Cup, the top order in certain games didn't stand up, and even against England in the big semi-final, even though Virat got the runs, the top order didn't have the best of days. So I think that probably you just have that bad day when your top order doesn't click, and that's when India falters.
Talking of India, the way they made a comeback in the 2021 series, Australia must have been taken aback. They wouldn't have expected that, did they?
Yeah, I think India played so well in that series. I mean, for players like Washington Sundar, Nataraj, and Siraj, Shardul Thakur to step up in Brisbane, and the way Rishabh Pant and Ashwin and Vihari saved the game in Sydney, I think it was a phenomenal achievement. Again, shows the sort of bench strength that India had built up in that whole series. And that's what I think after getting bowled out for 36 in Adelaide, coming back to win in Melbourne, drawing in Sydney, and going to Brisbane with a chance of either winning, drawing, or losing the series was a phenomenal effort. And the way the last test panned out in Brisbane was probably one of the best days of cricket to witness because chasing 329, I think it was, and 300 more than 300 on the last day the way Pujara fought out the first session, Shubman Gill's counter attacking 91, and the way Rishabh Pant, Washington, Shardul played, and Shardul's 5 wicket. I think Siraj got 5 wickets. Shardul fell with the new ball. I think just goes to show the bench strength that India had built up.
There was one theory floating that time. That was Australia playing the same bowlers was not the right thing because they got tired towards the end of the series. Any merit in it?
It was discussed whether you needed to change the bowlers, but I think it was the call that the bowlers themselves took. They wanted to play Pat Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark. I think at that level, if you've got such experienced bowlers, you leave it to them. They know their bodies much more than what the coaches do or the physiotherapists or the medical team. I think the in such a high profile series, any champion bowler would want to be a part of it. And I think they put their hand up to play each and every test. The fierce competitors that they all three are, Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark. They're very fierce competitors, and they never buckle out of a challenge. So I think they put their hand up to play.
Australia has the big bash, like India has the IPL, but yet the record is very modest in terms of World Cup titles in the T20 format. Why do you think?
I think T20 is a very constantly evolving game, and the grounds in Australia are so big that you've got to play a different kind of game in Australia where it's about boundaries, running hard between wickets, twos. But whereas when you come to the subcontinent in England, it's more about the boundary percentage and the sixes. So I think that's where Australia are a little bit caught. Uh, they cannot play that brand of cricket in Australia with the wickets being a little bit spicy, offering that extra bounce, huge square dimensions or huge long boundaries. So I the brand of T20, and that's what happened even in the World Cup. This lot of sides couldn't play the same brand. Even England, for that matter, couldn't play that same brand of attacking cricket which they play back home. So I think that's where the game is at the moment, with the bigger boundaries, the spicier wickets in Australia compared to everywhere else in the world, where the dimensions are smaller and the boundary percentages are much more sort of in the picture. I think in an average, the boundary percentage is 15 or 16% outside in the world, whereas in Australia is 11%. So there is a big difference in the boundary percentage, and that's where teams have to adopt when you go to Australia, and the same for Australia when they come outside.
And the question that begs now, after your explanation, why didn't Australia go all the way in this recent World Cup?
Again, it was the bad day that they had against New Zealand, getting bowled out for 100, chasing 200 in that game in Sydney. I think that hurt their net run rate so badly. And again, that was the strategy. They wanted to go all power. They decided not to play Steve Smith. But again, in this World Cup, the value of somebody playing right through the innings was showing, because Devon Conway did that for New Zealand. Babar Azam or Rizwan did that for Pakistan. Virat did that for India. And even somebody like David Malan did that for England. So this World Cup was again not about all out attack, but somebody in the top four had to bat long. And the wickets were such, the dimensions of the ground were such. Probably Australia wanted to go the England way, and that didn't suit them in this World Cup.
You've been around as a coach for a while now, approaching a decade almost. What's your coaching philosophy and how would you describe your style of coaching?
I think what I've learned is to be as adaptable as I can, and there's no one size fits all. You got to get the pulse of the group, you got to get the pulse of the player. Again, building the relationship with the player is so important, and leaving all your baggage behind as a player as yourself. Just go there with the mentality to, sort of genuinely help. Be as best prepared as possible, best planned as possible. Do your homework, and that's been my coaching philosophy. Be as adaptable as you can. Just be able to, be flexible on the go, and be as prepared as you can.
Two countries down, a coaching role with Team India must be in your vision.
Yeah, I would love to, if the opportunity presents itself. I never say never. So yeah, and it's a great honor to coach India. It's not something that you can do. Anyone can do every day. It's a great honor to be, either representing your country or coaching your country, and those opportunities don't come up for everyone. So if someone gets the opportunity, I think they're truly blessed.
I'm sure somewhere down the line I will see this happening, Sri. All the very best. Thank you very much for your time
Thank you,
and I
thank
wish
you,
you all
thank
the
you,
very best.
thank you so much, sir.
Take care. That was Sriram Sridharan giving his insights about all things related to cricket, Australia, World Cup, white ball cricket, red ball cricket, about Team India. And it's always a delight to have a chat with him. He's upfront and he's also very good in his analysis. And as far as you viewers are concerned, you can always catch up the earlier episodes on the handles of Hindu on the Sports Star. For those who are joining us for the first time, I'd like to request you to press the like button and also subscribe. And most importantly, leave your comments because we'd like to know what it is that you like about our shows and what it is that you would like to see in the future. So until I meet you next week, take care and be good.